Welcome to Speak for Yourself, delivered by Pizza Hut. Order today at pizzahut.com. Without Marcellus Wiley, I'm Emmanuel Acho, and I need your attention. Yes, you. Because if your team is considering drafting a quarterback in the first round, even a second round, it might be the best thing that's ever happened to your franchise. But it might be the worst. Why? Because competition, it breeds excellence, but competition, it also births failure. Now pay attention to me. 1992, the dream team, the most competitive team ever assembled to play basketball. Boy, did they have names: Karl Malone, Stockton, Michael Jordan, Pippen. The list goes on and on. That team, that competition, it bred excellence. The closest game they ever played was a 32-point victory over Croatia en route to winning a gold medal. But if we want to keep it Olympic, 2016, the USA men's 4x100-meter relay. Boy, did they have some stiff competition by that man, Usain Bolt. And that competition caused them to fail in the worst way. Competition caused them to fail so much that they got disqualified because they couldn't do something as simple as hand the batons in the proper exchange zone. See, competition, it can make you excel, but it can make you fail. So enter Jimmy Garoppolo, because we know the competition around him is going to be stiff. The 49ers, they mortgaged their entire future to draft a quarterback. They've made it abundantly clear. So what's going to happen? Will he excel? Or will he fail like Carson Wentz? Remember, Carson Wentz last year, the Eagles drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round. Huge competition there. In 2019, Carson Wentz's completion percentage, 63%. Oh, but the next year, after they drafted Jalen Hurts, it drops down to 57%. Passing yards go from 4,000 to 2,600. Interceptions, they shoot up from 7 to 15. That competition with Jalen Hurts caused Carson Wentz to fail. But remember, I told you, competition, it breeds excellence as well. Let's look at Aaron Rodgers, because the Packers drafted a man by the name of Jordan Love in the first round, and that competition caused Aaron Rodgers to excel. Completion percentage, it shoots up. Aaron Rodgers up to 70%. Passing yards, oh, that's nice as well. A small little increase, but the big number is passing touchdowns from 26 to 48. You also see the passer rating shot up as well. So as I think about all the competition that will happen based on the quarterbacks getting drafted in the first round, particularly surrounding one man, Jimmy Garoppolo, because the competition, it will be stiff. I got one simple question. Will the competition cause Jimmy G to thrive, or will it cause Jimmy G to take a dive? To answer that, I got to bring in my guy, Greg Jennings. G, you look good, my friend. You look good. But talk to me, G. Is Jimmy Garoppolo, with the stiff competition this year, because we know the Niners are going to take a quarterback, is he going to thrive, or do you expect him to take a dive?
Well, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to thrive, my man, Acho. I loved how you laid out all of your points just then about the excellence and the failures. But when we're talking about Jimmy Garoppolo and the San Francisco 49ers, he's going to thrive. And there are three reasons why he's going to thrive. Number one being because this is what he needs for himself. He's coming into his two final seasons of his contract. He knows that he needs to play himself into another contract, a long-term deal for whoever that team may be. Second, because the San Francisco 49ers and John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, they want him to thrive. Because if Jimmy Garoppolo thrives, they benefit. We heard Kyle Shanahan say it in his presser. If Jimmy Garoppolo is mad, that's good. It bodes well, not only for us and Jimmy, but our organization. Why does it bode well for them? Because they add trade value. They get so much more for Jimmy Garoppolo if he has success. And so for me, when I look at this situation, it leads to Jimmy Garoppolo having a tremendous season, not just because of himself needing it, not just because of the 49ers needing it, but because of what it means to the league at the quarterback position. He's in a position, in the third final reason, he was drafted in 2014 by a team called the New England Patriots, and he sat behind a guy named Tom Brady, the GOAT, as we call him. You think he learned a couple things there? You think he thrived? You think he was able to understand adversity right out the gate? Not just being a guy that he knew going in, I'm not going to play, but seeing a guy in Tom Brady take him under his arms as he got drafted and showing him the way and the ropes, also by kind of giving him that stiff arm, him being Jimmy Garoppolo, that stiff arm, saying, watch me do it and you'll get your turn later. That's what Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have an opportunity to do. That's why he's going to thrive, because he's been in this seat just a little different from the end of being the draftee, being the pick that was looked at to replace a legendary quarterback. Now, I said legendary. He's not legendary, but he can be very legendary if he gets that team back to the Super Bowl and they finally get over that hump and actually bring it home.
Well, 49ers fans everywhere hoping you're right. I'm joined by NFL analyst Bucky Brooks. Bucky, I got to ask you the same question. In light of what you know about competition and what it can do to quarterbacks, what you've seen it do to quarterbacks, you expect Jimmy G to thrive or take a dive this year?
Well, I think he thrives in this system because this system allows everybody to thrive. You go back and look at Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo is 22-8 as a starter for the San Francisco 49ers. His touchdown-interception ratio is 46-26, passer rating 98.1. So all those things suggest that he is going to play well if he's healthy. Mm-hmm. And so that's really the biggest issue that the 49ers have with him. I can talk about, hey, he missed a few throws. Passer rating's at 98.1. That's more than enough to be able to win. The issue is he's missed 23 out of 48 games while he's been with the San Francisco 49ers. Can he get through a 17-game season? That is the only reason why Kyle Shanahan is considering moving on from him. He's not available, and durability is everything at the quarterback position. Franchise quarterbacks must be available. They must be around each and every week because they are the franchise.
But can we have story time real quick, Bucky? Because I think the operative word is going to come down to ability. The best ability in the NFL is availability.
Absolutely.
You know that, I know that, G. Get back to you in a second, but you know that as well. So let me tell you all that typically most of the time you get hurt when you're trying to do too much. Yeah. When I got hurt all of my career, primarily, I was trying to do too much. I'll take you back 2012 Combine. I come out with the likes of Andrew Luck and Russell Wilson and all those dudes. I'm trying to run a 40 because I knew, Bucky, if I ran a 4.5, I'd probably be like a second-round pick. Yeah. But if your boy ran like a 4.7, he'd probably be a 6th-round pick. I'm running a 40-yard dash. It's my second attempt. I'm running. All of a sudden, I hear boom, boom, boom. I think it's my heels clicking. So I keep trying to push through. Next thing you know, I grab at my quad. I tore my quad off the bone. See, the competition of the Combine, it caused me to do so much so that I got hurt. I think Jimmy G, someone who already has a propensity to be hurt, that might happen again. Y'all saw me at the beginning of the show. Opening monologue, I mentioned the 4x100-meter team at Rio. Bucky, you're a huge track and field fan. 4x100-meter team, they're trying to keep up with Jamaica because Usain Bolt runs for Jamaica.
Oh, yeah.
Fastest man in the world. I told y'all they got disqualified, but what I didn't tell y'all was that the anchor leg for the USA, the person that had to directly run against Usain Bolt, he got carted out of the stadium with inflamed Achilles. Why? Because when you're trying to do too much, sometimes you get hurt. Jimmy G's already been hurt, Bucky. I'm just not convinced that he will thrive because, yes, he thrives when he's healthy, but what about his career tells you that he can stay healthy, specifically when there's somebody on his tail?
I mean, now that's the thing. He hasn't been available. That's been the biggest knock on him. His injury history is one that prevents you from really going all in. But I will say this, and let's just bank on it, because he understands what is at hand right now. He knows that I have to get this done. If I don't get this done, I'm out of here. And so the one way I can keep the young quarterback off my heels is by being on the field and making it happen. Now, you talk about doing too much because we all can suffer from doing too much. But I think this is a situation where Jimmy Garoppolo's experience and his maturity could help him. Understanding the system, really diving into the playbook this offseason because he knows what is at hand. It could give him an opportunity to flourish when he's on the field. And if he flourishes while he's on the field, Kyle Shanahan is going to be reluctant to pull him off for an unknown commodity in this new quarterback.
Now, Greg, I have to bring you back in. I got to bring you back in. Greg, I hate to age you. I hate to do that. I mean, you're a strapping, good-looking gentleman. You don't look a day over 29. But I'm going to age you quickly because I just found out, bro, you played with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. I just thought you played with Aaron Rodgers, but you must have been playing back in when the TVs were still black and white. Nonetheless, Greg, nonetheless. Aaron Rodgers was drafted to replace Brett Favre. You were on the team during Brett Favre's later days. What was it about Brett Favre's mindset? What was it about Brett Favre's personality? How did he continue to thrive? Because his last season in Green Bay, he was 13-3, if I am not mistaken.
He was sure of himself. He knew exactly who he was. And I think to Bucky's point, you have to understand what's at hand. And it's not so much that he's trying to play to remain a 49er. I think Jimmy Garoppolo can read writing when it's on the wall in front of him. He is not going to be their quarterback for the future, but he knows he has the ability to be a quarterback for a starting team or a team or an organization in this league. So when you talk about Brett Favre and having Aaron Rodgers waiting in the wing, Brett Favre knew who he was. He was sure of himself. He knew he wasn't going to lose his job to Aaron Rodgers right away, but he also understood that the writing was going to be on the wall. It wasn't going to change his approach. It wasn't going to change his talent level and his ability to throw the football and be spectacular. That's who he was, and that's who he is innately. So that's going to always be on display. When you have a guy like Brett Favre, and unlike Jimmy Garoppolo, because he hasn't won a Super Bowl, but he's played in the Super Bowl. When you've played in pressure situations, when you've been behind greatness and you've watched it for so long, a la the Brett Favres, Tom Brady's, Jimmy Garoppolo having the opportunity to watch that, Aaron Rodgers having the opportunity to watch Brett Favre and how he handled situations. You learn so much, not only from sitting and watching, but just being around it. You hear things, you find out what you shouldn't do, what you should do. And so when I look at Jimmy Garoppolo, he's not going to run from this situation. He is in it, and it's up to him to solidify his future. That future may very well not be with the San Francisco 49ers. Now, you have to be a big boy and embrace that and be okay with the fact that I may not be here, but I know I'm playing to be somewhere else, and I'm playing to be a special player in this league, and I'm one of the best. He has to prove that to 31 other teams.
Well, Greg, you talk about pressure, so I'm going to pivot this conversation to the huge storyline that no one's actually talking about, because Kyle Shanahan, he's the head coach. He's the one that's really making all of these decisions right now, and we have to acknowledge that he's under an immense amount of pressure as well. If y'all would have told me before the season that Philadelphia Eagles head coach Doug Peterson would be fired by the end of the season, I would have called you crazy. I probably would have called you worse than crazy. I may have called you outside your name. But Doug Peterson and the Eagles choose to draft Jalen Hurts, a second-round pick, not even a first-round pick. And because they draft Jalen Hurts, that causes Carson Wentz to fail. And Jalen Hurts, really, by all statistical metrics, he failed as well this season. So Doug Peterson got it wrong. Let me even make this more clear for y'all, because I just wrote a book. Doug Peterson published a book August 21st of 2018 called Fearless, How to Become a Super Bowl Champion. The book was forwarded by the Eagles owner, Jeffrey Lurie, the same owner that ran him out of the building just 2 years later. So the huge story that no one's talking about is how much pressure head coach of the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, is under. So, Bucky Brooks, you answer me this one. Just how much pressure is on Kyle Shanahan to get this right?
Oh, I think the pressure is neutral. I don't think anything changes. He wants to be a Super Bowl champion. And so the job of the head coach is to be able to look at your team and look at your top players and see where they are. I would like to think that he knows his quarterback. He also knows what the vision of a championship team looks like. So he has to assess, where's my quarterback based on where that vision is for what we need to get done to be a champion. Much like Andy Reid had to be able to look at Alex Smith and say, how far can we go? What is our ceiling with this guy as our QB1? I think Kyle Shanahan knows what the ceiling is with Jimmy Garoppolo, which is why he may want more. He knows he can get to the Super Bowl and maybe win the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. But if he wants to build a team that is dynastic, he may want more. And so the pressure is not necessarily on how they're going to do, because we see when he has a serviceable quarterback, he is going to win games. When he has Jimmy Garoppolo, he's going to win about 75% of his games. So he knows he's going to win. Can I continue to win with Jimmy Garoppolo while I get the prodigy ready? Because when the prodigy is ready, then we need to hand the keys over to him, because he can take her to higher heights.
Bucky Brooks, you're exactly right. 100%. I think that Kyle Shanahan does have some pressure because of the pressure that he puts on himself and just the expectation that he lives with. But he's in lockstep with John Lynch in management and ownership. They're going about this together. This isn't Kyle Shanahan just wants his guy. No, you said something, Bucky, that I agree with. The ceiling. They know what the ceiling is for Jimmy Garoppolo. And yes, can it get them to the Super Bowl? Of course, it's done that. He's proven that I can be that guy. But can you get us over the hump and actually bring the Lombardi Trophy back home with us? That has yet to be proven. So with that, a quarterback and a head coach, who is your offensive coordinator, they need to be on one accord. I don't think that you see that with Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan all the time because he lacks the availability. But when you have an opportunity to draft a guy and to bring in the guy that you believe in from day one, that you didn't have to go out and try to get and acquire because you were trying to fill a gap for the time being. That's what the 49ers were doing. They were trying to grab a guy that they felt like, okay, if we can get this guy, this talented, we can have something. Now they're going to go and get a guy that they believe in, and they're going to put their future in the hands of. That's reassuring to a head coach and a general manager.
But fellas, let me break this down. Let me break this down succinctly for the viewers, though, because there's another option I think that neither of us have talked about. None of us have yet to bring up. Y'all know when you come back from the grocery store, right, and you load up your boot, you load up your trunk with all the groceries. And Greg Jennings, I'm sure you've been in this situation before because you like to work out. And so you are going to make sure that you only got to take one trip. You gonna carry all the bags you can. You got one around your thumb, G. You got one on the pinky. You got one around your other thumb, one on your other pinky. You got about 15 bags on 10 fingers. But what happens, G, is you try to put that 16th bag on a finger, and what happens? They all fall. See, there's a chance that Jimmy G fails, and this new young quarterback, whoever they try to go recruit, fails as well. There's a chance that when you try to have the most, you end up having none at all. I think that is a chance, that is a risk that Kyle Shanahan is taking. Bucky, let me ask you kind of succinctly because, again, it could be my PTSD speaking. I never thought, as a resident Eagles fan, as a former Eagles player, I never thought Doug Peterson would be fired, ever. He went to 3 playoffs in 4 years. He won the Super Bowl just 3 Super Bowls ago. So call me crazy, but I never thought Doug Peterson would be gone. Is there a chance Kyle Shanahan is out in San Francisco if he messes this up completely like Doug Peterson and the Eagles did?
No, I would say this. Here may be the difference, and I'm a friend of Doug Peterson, and I will say this respectfully. I think the difference is Kyle Shanahan might be able to coach his way out of a mess-up when it comes to the quarterback position. Because he is an A-level play designer, he can take the quarterback, and we've seen him take any quarterback and have success. I'm not saying that they will win at the highest level with a guy who maybe doesn't cut the mustard based on where he's drafted, but I certainly believe that he'll be able to figure out a way to play winning football because the ace that he always has in his back pocket, the running game. They have been able to run the football consistently, regardless of who the quarterback is. If they get in a pinch, he will go heavily on the ground game, and that will give them a chance to continue to win, even if the new quarterback is struggling.
Well, coming from someone who spends way too much time at the casinos and blackjack tables, there is nothing like the backdoor ace. I respect it, Bucky. Coming up, I'll tell you why the Browns will win the AFC North, and our guest will tell me exactly why I'm wrong. But first, how long will Aaron Rodgers be in Green Bay? I'm going to tell you if the Packers are mishandling the MVP. That's next. Speak for yourself.
The Universal Championship triple threat has reshaped WrestleMania, and Edge is more dangerous than ever. But how will Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan retaliate? It's an all-new Friday Night SmackDown, live at 8 Eastern on Fox.
Welcome back. The Packers did not restructure Aaron Rodgers' contract, which would have given him a long-term security in Green Bay. Now, Packers CEO Mark Murphy was asked why the team would not want to ensure Rodgers is their quarterback beyond next season, and he said, quote, "I'm not going to get into specifics." Good try, though. Well, Bucky and former Packer Greg Jennings are back, but fellas, I got to get this one off my chest. No team in the history of sports has wasted a star player more than the Packers have wasted Aaron Rodgers, and I fervently believe so. Aaron Rodgers has been a starter for the Packers for 13 years. The Packers gave Aaron Rodgers a top 5 defense once. And what did Aaron Rodgers give them in return? A Super Bowl. Conversely, Russell Wilson entered the league and spent his first 5 seasons with a top 5 season, with top 5 defenses. Russell Wilson only returned them 1 Super Bowl. 62 wide receivers have been drafted the last 5 years in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft. None have been drafted by the Green Bay Packers. When you want to talk about wasting a star player, look no further than Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers already has 1 Super Bowl, so for me to call him a waste, that is a compliment to how talented he is. But 9 times he's been to the Pro Bowl, 3 times the NFL MVP, and 3 times he has been an all-pro player. So you can talk about the likes of Barry Sanders. He never had a great quarterback. You can talk about the likes of Dan Marino. Not until later in his career did he have a top-tier defense. If you want to switch sports, you can talk about the likes of Kevin Garnett. He never got pieces, so he had to leave and go to Boston to get a ring. But when talking about the here and now, when talking about the great that is Aaron Rodgers, I am fervently convinced that the Packers are completely wasting his career. But Greg Jennings, you played with Aaron Rodgers. You played with the Packers. So what say you? How bad are the Packers wasting Aaron Rodgers?
Well, I think that they've wasted some of his career, but I think more than anything, they've relied on his talents far too much to overcome all the woes and all the mishaps. And what I mean by that, when you have a transcendent player and a player that has the ability to impact a game and just completely take over a game with his arm and legs, the way that Aaron Rodgers has been able to do for so many years, you fall complacent to that. You fall comfortable to that. And you think that I can just give him anything and he'll make it work. That's where I feel like the Packers have gone wrong for years as of late. It has worked. So I can't say that they completely wasted it because it has worked for them in the past, but it has not worked up to this point. Now, when we move to date and the mishandling, in my opinion, of his contract and restructuring it and his future, solidifying that, I think they're going about it all wrong. When you've had the opportunity to be a part of, and I'm talking Mark Murphy, and specifically of the Brett Favre saga that they went through, that I was there and I lived that, you don't go through that again with an all-time great, with a Hall of Fame quarterback. You allow him to bow out. You give him what is needed. And I'm not saying you just completely kneel down and put your hands out and say, Aaron, whatever you want, we'll do. I'm not saying that. But you answered the easy question. If he wants to have some solidifying factors put in place, or you saying that I'm solidified through X, Y, Z, give him that assurance. We've heard it before. When Matt LaFleur got acquired as a head coach, he immediately said, Aaron Rodgers is a guy. I love this guy. Even last year, going into the season, Aaron Rodgers is our guy. Even right after the season, this past season, immediately Matt LaFleur and all others were speaking highly of Aaron Rodgers being the guy moving forward. But now, as of late, the conversation has changed. The answering system and the way they've responded to questions have changed, which leads me to believe that they are changing their mind. Well, it's not even that they're changing their minds. They had already made up their mind that they were going to move on from Aaron Rodgers and giving Jordan Love an opportunity to showcase his talents. And I believe in that NFC Championship game, that faithful fourth down from the 8-yard line, them kicking that field goal, that decision being made by Matt LaFleur, and you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers who's always on top of managing games and knowing situations and feeling like I can do this, I can make it happen, and you made that decision not to put the ball in his hands, that, my friend, he does not want hanging over his shoulder for the remainder of his coaching career in the Green Bay Packers helmet and uniform.
Now, Bucky, I saw you scoff and kind of let out a quick chuckle when I said that no career has been wasted
Bucky don't like this.
more than Aaron Rodgers. Respond, Bucky.
Look, man, I didn't think this. You guys are big, tough guys, big former football players. But I'm thinking that you guys must sleep with the lights on because you're scared of the boogeyman. Because I just don't understand why we fear Aaron Rodgers so much. Like, oh, we don't want to make Aaron Rodgers mad. Oh, he's the quarterback. He's done all these things. We can't make him get upset by bringing another guy into the room. Let me kind of hip you on game in terms, I think that's Acho's term. So here's what happens with the Green Bay Packers as it relates to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers from, 2016 to 2019, did you know that each and every year his completion percentage and passer rating were declining? And so if you're management, you're looking at a 36-year-old quarterback, well, he was 37 when the draft came around, a guy who is showing you diminishing returns. At some point, you have to get someone in the building that can play quarterback. And so what the Green Bay Packers were doing is they were making a prudent business decision, one that paid off for them when Brett Favre was also declining and struggling. And I know what you're saying. Yeah, but he just came off an MVP season. And if they had given him some more weapons, who knows what would have happened? I get that. And normally, right away, before you pass away, you have one resurgence of life, and then you flatline. And so with Aaron Rodgers, he had that MVP season. But let's not. Look, he's 37. He's going to be 38 years old. He's not going to play forever. They understand this. They may be growing tired of his complaints and maybe the subtle innuendo that he's floating out there this offseason. So at some point, the contract expires at 2023. It might be best for both parties to move on. Aaron Rodgers can go his way. The Packers can go their way with Jordan Love. And I would say, based on the Packers' history, they've been okay handing the baton off to other quarterbacks and continue to have success.
But Bucky, my guy, you're vexing me with that opinion. And here's why. Bucky, the Packers have been to one Super Bowl with arguably or inarguably the most talented, not the best, but the most talented quarterback the game of football's ever seen. Between Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, the Packers have won 2 Super Bowls and been to 3 Super Bowls over roughly a 30-year stretch. I don't know if these are prudent business decisions or ignorant business decisions. Bucky, the other thing I draw issue with is this. I'm not going to poke fun, if you will, or even notate Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, one of the richest men in the world, if he happens to lose a couple $100 million. Because a billionaire who loses a few $100 million is still wealthier than everybody else. Aaron Rodgers in 2016 declining, he's still better than everybody else because he's declining from a 40-touchdown season. Aaron Rodgers in 2016 is declining from a Pro Bowl caliber season. So I don't know if I can give the benefit of the doubt to the Packers. Let me remind you, Bucky, the same Packers that haven't drafted a receiver in the first round ever. The same Packers who haven't drafted a skill position player in the first round since Aaron Rodgers was drafted. Oh, wait, they did. That's on me. Jordan Love, the quarterback to replace Aaron Rodgers, is the only skill position player that the Packers have drafted. So, Bucky, I don't know if I trust the Packers to actually do Aaron Rodgers right. And in fact, it's become abundantly clear that the Packers don't know what they're doing with Aaron Rodgers.
Oh my gosh. I'm over here. I'm nauseous. And I'm even more nauseous that Greg Jennings has spent time in Green Bay. And like me, he knows. I spent 3 years up there, and everything about Green Bay is about Title Town. And Title Town doesn't come from this new era with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. It goes all the way back to Vince Lombardi when they were winning 5 world championships and doing the things with the likes of Bart Starr. Because what you have to understand is that era shapes how this current generation continues to think about the team building process, because that's what it is. It is the team. It is building the best team. And I know you guys want to just kind of hand the keys to Aaron Rodgers, let Aaron Rodgers do everything, change the decor in the locker room, pick all the players, decide what we're going to eat for lunch and all those things because he's the star quarterback. But that's not how it works there. In Green Bay, it is about the team, and what they're trying to do is to build the best team. Meaning they want the team to be able to succeed with Aaron Rodgers and without Aaron Rodgers. Because at some point we know this. The Aaron Rodgers era is going to end. And the job of the general manager and the president is to make sure that the franchise remains a viable contender. And so I understand Aaron Rodgers has a couple of good years, but we don't worry about that part. It's about the next decade. Can you build a team that is sustainable for the next decade?
Well, the Packers are trying to get to the Super Bowl, but a team that was just at the Super Bowl, the Bucs. They're train is ready to keep on rolling next season. And I'm going to tell you exactly what might stand in the way of Brady's bunch from the team. That's next. Speak for yourself. Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. The Bucs, they are doing everything they can to repeat as Super Bowl champs. Tampa bringing back all 22 of their starters. Wow. And head coach Bruce Arians said offers are out to future Hall of Famer Antonio Brown as well. Greg Jennings is back with us, but we're also joined by former defensive back, my guy Darius Butler, 9-year NFL vet. Fellas, I'm going to be real. We look like something out of a black menswear magazine, so kudos to all three of us, particularly you, DB. You outshined us all. But if I can say this, fellas, remind y'all and the rest of America, the Buccaneers, Super Bowl champs. They won their last 8 games in a row en route to the Super Bowl, outscoring opponents on average 34-19, getting to the Super Bowl and beating Patrick Mahomes' Chiefs. Remember, Patrick Mahomes' Chiefs had only lost one of his last 26 games when Patrick Mahomes was at quarterback. The Buccaneers bring back all 22 starters, but more importantly, they bring back their head coach, their offensive coordinator, their defensive coordinator. So if you have all of that, what could possibly derail the Buccaneers from repeating? To me, it's only one thing: complacency. That's the only thing. If you're telling me Tom Brady's coming back with a real offseason, not completely marred by COVID, if you're telling me future Hall of Famer Rob Gronkowski's coming back, and he's not coming back with the previous year in retirement, but he's coming back with the previous year, his body learning how to refire on all cylinders. You're telling me they bringing Leonard Fournette back? Then on defense, they re-signed their star, Levante David, Shaq Barrett, Jason Pierre-Paul? I don't see anything stopping the Bucs. But if there's one thing, it would have to be complacency. But Greg Jennings, I want to get your take. What could possibly derail the Bucs from repeating as Super Bowl champs?
Well, you said it. It's definitely complacency, and it's injury. I mean, they've done everything right up to this point. They've brought back all the pieces that were important to them winning outside of the Antonio Brown, which they're still in discussion there. So we have yet to see if that's going to work itself out. However, when you have a team that has won, and they've won the way that they did, they were the hunters. They weren't being hunted. And so they were going after every team with everything that they had because they were after something. It's a different position when you go from being the hunter to being hunted. And so sometimes guys can't switch that role of now after you've hunted and you've had success, you brought home that cherished, that find. Now you have to go out and do it again. So I think what you said, complacency, it really sums it up. This team has to stay healthy, and they have to keep their eyes on the prize and stay focused for 17, 18 now weeks of the regular season.
Now, DB, you were a part of a lot of really good organizations. You started your career with the Patriots. You ended your career with the Colts. Both of these organizations know how to win at a high level, know how to win championships. So what do you think could derail the Buccaneers from repeating?
Kind of what Greg said. Only thing I see is injuries, really. I don't see them being complacent. You're led by Tom Brady. You're led by B.A. Those great coordinators all coming back. I definitely don't see those guys getting lax. So injuries could be the only thing that can derail this team, honestly. They would be my betting favorite to run it back. And I know it's only April and we're talking about championships, but if I had to place a bet right now, it'll be on the Bucs. And you bring back a bunch of young guys in the secondary who played great, executed a game plan in the Super Bowl. You talked about what they did down the stretch from week 12 on, didn't lose a game. And guys just got used to each other. You know, the more and more continuity built throughout that team, they'll have an offseason. They'll go into this next year with these same expectations. So, honestly, the only thing I can see derailing these guys is injury.
Now, DB, watch yourself. Now, you come on this show talking about place your bets and placing bets. I might have to call you on it. I'm going to let you know. This ain't like these other shows.
I got
you. Greg, now, you were literally in the same position, so I don't know if I'm buying y'all's answer of injuries. Gee, you won the Super Bowl with the Packers. You remind me that every time you come on this show. You literally have your Super Bowl ring on probably right now. But then the next year, y'all go 15-1. Y'all get better record-wise because the year y'all won the Super Bowl, y'all were 10-6. You go 15-1, and it's not like Aaron Rodgers got hurt, so take me there. What derailed you when y'all were on your path to repeating as Super Bowl champs? What was it specifically?
Well, it was a little bit of everything. It was injuries. It was a different mindset. And you got to understand the hunger and the desire when you have yet to accomplish something is completely different once you have tasted it. Once you have experienced the height of heights, the pinnacle, then it's hard to reboot. Tom Brady he's a unicorn. No one understands how difficult it is outside of Tom Brady to repeat that cycle every year, year in and year out. And so when I was with the Packers and we went 15-1, we were cruising. We were coming. It was the lockout off season. There was a lot of doubters. Oh, this team isn't getting together, but we knew we were good enough. So we were relying on what we had done the previous year and our abilities. We just thought we were that much better than everyone else, and it caught up to us. It wasn't that we didn't practice hard. It wasn't that we didn't play hard, but the desire, that hunger, that flame that was burning so bright and so hot before the season before, it wasn't that it wasn't burning and it wasn't present, but it wasn't as hot. It wasn't as big as it was the year before. And that's what happens when you get guys who've experienced some success and don't know how to throw that out the window and start fresh.
I've said this before, fellas, and DB, I'm going to get to you in a second. I've said this before that, when you try to go on a diet, if I'm trying to look like Greg Jennings and make sure my abs is popping and whatnot, and I stop eating for a while, DB, all of a sudden, right, your stomach starts to shrink. And then if you go to a buffet, you might get full a little quicker than you're used to if you haven't eaten in a long time. And then all of a sudden you consume a lot of food very quickly. I draw that parallel to the Buccaneers. They hadn't eaten. They hadn't tasted success in a very long time, especially not with Jameis Winston. Mike Evans hadn't tasted success. Chris Godwin hadn't tasted success. Star linebacker Levante David hadn't tasted success. Ndamukong Suh, he hadn't necessarily tasted success, not in Tampa. So I think they might actually end up being a little too full if, in fact, they tasted success so quickly. DB, do you think that will be problematic for some of the veterans in the locker room? And I'm not talking about the Tom Brady, Gronkowski veterans. I'm talking about the dudes like Mike Evans who've been on teams that were sorry since he got into the league, and all of a sudden he looks up, he's a Super Bowl champ.
No, I don't think so at all, man. You saw them being able to bring all those guys back. I think the first word that comes to my mind when I look at that roster is sacrifice. A lot of guys have made sacrifice to come back and win. Everybody know Shaq could have went out and got more money elsewhere. Other guys could have went out and got some more money elsewhere, but they took, quote unquote, team-friendly deals and came back to try to run it back. So sacrifice from the coaching staff, from the players. And you talk about the Patriot way for so long. Tom Brady was a huge, huge part of that. And you're seeing that same culture brought down to Tampa.
G, I got to come to you because this thought just came to my mind. You won a Super Bowl. You are one of few people, at least in this industry, that can necessarily speak of actually having won Super Bowls. So that begs the question, what's more difficult, winning the first one or trying to attempt to win the second one? The Bucs have won the first one. Y'all won the first one when y'all were 10-6. But then you had to go back and win the second one. What's more difficult?
Attempting to win the second one. Attempting to win the second one is more difficult. Obviously, everybody's trying to get that first one under their belt. But when you got it now, to acquire that same resolve, to keep that same fire, that same desire that you had when you didn't have that taste, that full belly that you're talking about, when it was empty, you have food in there now. And so now you got to go and train. Now you got to go and pick that weight up. Now you got to go and run that route. And you got to listen to that coach tell you that it wasn't good enough and you're a champion. It's a different mindset. It's harder to reel all that back in and reset and do it all over again and try to get it done as a team.
But, G, I got to go back to you. Because I have to believe, and I never won a Super Bowl, so I may be speaking ignorantly, but I have to believe it's very difficult to do something you don't even know how to do. Like, you showed up in Green Bay and y'all won maybe your third or fourth year in the league. Rodgers hadn't won a Super Bowl. So I have to believe that it's hard to do something you don't even know how to do. What is it like even trying to learn how to win a Super Bowl when you ain't never won one?
You're fearless. You don't have something to fall from. You're not on top. So you're just trying to get to the top. And so when you don't know, you're willing to go above and beyond. You're willing to do whatever it takes However, it's funny how when you know what it takes, and now you feel like, well, I don't have to do that anymore, what I did when I didn't know what it took. And sometimes it's those very things that you choose to not now do that will have really propelled you to getting what you desire so much again.
Appreciate that, G. DB, don't go too far. I know we got you later on in the show. But coming up, let's talk about a team that definitely hasn't won a Super Bowl in a while. That's America's team. The Dallas Cowboys. They were ranked 18th in a recent poll. So where exactly do I have them ranked? I'm going to break that down for you next. Don't want to miss it. Speak for yourself. Let's head to Dallas. How about them Cowboys? Dak Prescott's 4-year, $160 million deal was one of the biggest headlines this offseason, but on a recent post-free agency power ranking, the Cowboys were number 18. But it did say their best offseason move was adding defensive coordinator Dan Quinn, much to a Cowboys team that finished just 6-10 last season. 18th, it seemed shocking. Seemed atrocious. I'm from Dallas, so I even took offense to it, although I played for the Eagles. But then I started doing some deductive reasoning, and I said, wait a second, carry the two. Maybe they're up to something. So I decided to do some rankings of my own and figure out exactly where the Dallas Cowboys should fall. I'm going to make this easy. I'm going to make this simple for y'all. First thing I'm going to do is tell you the teams in the NFC that are worse than the Cowboys. We're not even going to have to argue about this one because I keep it very, very, very simple. So let's look at the 4 teams that I know the Dallas Cowboys are better than beyond the shadow of a doubt. My Eagles. Yes, it pains me to say it. My Eagles. I'm going to remove my feelings from a factual conversation. The Eagles don't have a quarterback necessarily that they love, and they definitely don't have a coach that's proven better than them. Lions, yeah, their head coach is talking about biting off kneecaps and whatnot, but I don't know if that'll translate to win. So the Cowboys are better than them. The Falcons, they just haven't really been good since that whole 28-3 thing. So the Cowboys are better than them. And then the Carolina Panthers. I like Matt Rule, young head coach. But does Matt Rule like Teddy Bridgewater, his quarterback? Cowboys are better than them. So next, let's look at the teams that the Cowboys are just as good as in the NFC. This is where the debate comes in. Chicago Bears and the Dallas Cowboys. I think that is a coin flip. At the end of the day, if they played each other 10 times, I think it would be 5-5. So they're just as good as them. The Vikings, I think the Vikings typically win 8 games on average, 17-game season. Maybe they'll win 9 this year. But the Cowboys are equivalent to the Vikings and the Giants. I slept on the Giants last year, but I'm awake now. I think the Giants are up and coming. I think they split this year. It's equal. I'm not going to get into a long conversation there. So now, let's look at the teams very simply that we know are better than the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC. Now, look, people, this is simple, and you got to be a Cowboys fan if you're going to argue with me. Buccaneers, we know they're better than the Cowboys. Saints, we know they're better than the Cowboys. Packers, we know they're better than the Cowboys. Seahawks, even with the disgruntled Russell Wilson, we know they're better than the Cowboys. On the flip side, the LA Rams, they added Matthew Stafford. They already have Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. Better than the Cowboys. 49ers, even with an injured Jimmy G. But even if Jimmy G gets injured, now they're going to have a solid young quarterback. They're better than the Cowboys. The Cardinals, you could argue with me there, but they added some big names. J.J. Watt, A.J. Green. They already got DeAndre Hopkins. Kyler Murray will take a step better than the Cowboys. And Washington, the team that does not have a mascot, the football team, they were better than the Cowboys last year. Second-year head coach Ron Rivera, I think he will make just as much of a jump as Mike McCarthy. They're better than the Cowboys. So, as I counted, that's 8 teams in the NFC. Now let's get to the AFC again. I'm not going to bore you all with in the AFC who the Cowboys are worse than and all that jazz. I'm only going to tell y'all what AFC teams are better than the Dallas Cowboys. Baltimore Ravens, that's a no-brainer. They got a stud quarterback. They got a head coach that's won Super Bowls, even more recently than Mike McCarthy. The Browns, they are on the up and up. They are better than the Cowboys. The Steelers, even with the declining Ben Roethlisberger. Mike Tomlin, he always wins 8 at a minimum. Better than the Cowboys. Buffalo Bills, what you gonna say about Josh Allen? This dude finished second in the MVP race. Proven quarterback, young head coach that trusts his quarterback. The Titans, the Chiefs, the Colts, all better than the Dallas Cowboys. So again, I'm no mathematician. I'm no math whiz. But I got 8 teams in the NFC that are clearly better than the Cowboys. I got 7 teams in the AFC that are unequivocally better than the Cowboys. That means at best, the Cowboys are about 16th in the NFL. That's how I see it. But I got to go to the desk to see how my guy Bucky Brooks sees it. So, Bucky, Do I have the Cowboys too high? Do I have them too low? Or, Bucky, for once in my life, did I get something just right?
No, you didn't get it right. You didn't get it right. Like,
all that work, I ain't get it right?
Like, look.
All that work.
I think John Wooden says, don't confuse activity with achievement. So you did a lot of stuff on the board. It was great. It was fantastic the way you used it. But, I mean, here's the thing. And this is the thing that drives me crazy about power rankings. It is great, but we don't operate in a power rankings world. Here's what happens. The only thing that you have to do to get to the playoffs, the number one way to get to the playoffs is to win your division. Acho, like, here's the thing, because as it relates to Dak Prescott, what you love to bring up is his record. But I look at this record versus the NFC East. Ooh, 19-6. Dominates the NFC East. That is a very dominant record. So that right there puts them as the 4th seed at worst in the NFC. That guarantees a home game. Man, you win a home game, you get some momentum, you go in. Before you know it, you're now in the NFC Championship game. That's what we're talking about. And I know we like to talk about this being a quarterback-driven league. So let's think about the quarterbacks in the mighty NFC East. Ooh, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Jalen Hurts, your guy, with the Eagles. Daniel Jones? Are we really worried about Dak Prescott dealing in a duel against Daniel Jones? So right now, they're already guaranteed to be in the playoffs. So now they're in the playoffs. Now we're dealing with who else is in the conference. And so the Green Bay Packers have some discord because their quarterback is not happy. Mm-hmm. We don't know what that defense is going to look like because they have a new defensive coordinator. It could completely change the apple cart. We talk about the San Francisco 49ers and how Jimmy Garoppolo might be a little in his feelings because they have a new quarterback that's sitting in the room behind him waiting to take his spot. You talk about the L.A. Rams and all those things, but it's a lot of change. Brandon Staley left. He is now on the other side of L.A. dealing with the Chargers. You have Raheem Morris coming in, trying to figure out all the new pieces. A new quarterback in Matthew Stafford, who doesn't have any playoff wins. And then we go up to the Pacific Northwest with Russell Wilson, who is also trying to figure out if he's a celebrity or a winner. We just don't know. And so as I look at the Cowboys, I think the Cowboys are well positioned to make a major run. At a minimum, I see this as a team with 10 wins or more with just an average defense and Dak Prescott coming back. 10 wins at a minimum for the Cowboys, America's team, as we would call it.
Bucky, you from Dallas?
No, I'm not from Dallas.
It sounds like
No. I'm just saying, I'm just deductive reasoning.
Now let's do this. You want to use a big conjunctive word like deductive reasoning? I'm gonna see that and raise you. I'm gonna see that and raise you mutually exclusive, because two things are not mutually exclusive. The Cowboys could make the playoffs and win their division, and the Cowboys could be the 16th best team in the NFL. You could be right, and I could be right. Although, if I'm saying that I'm right. Nonetheless, I'll say it like this, though, Bucky. Why are you so sure the Cowboys are going to win the NFC East? They didn't win the East last year. Washington won the East last year. The Washington football team started 6 games with Dwayne Haskins, a dude that was he wasn't going to strip clubs, a dude that was losing games and turning up in his house. And they still made it to the playoffs. Washington made it to the playoffs over the Cowboys, and Alex Smith only started 6 games. Mm-hmm. So I don't even know how you're so convinced, why you're so convinced that the Cowboys are even better than Washington or New York.
Oh, I'm completely convinced, because the Washington football team got worse at quarterback with Ryan Fitzpatrick, because the number one deciding factor in winning games, the turnover margin.
That's fair.
I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick is coming over there, apples, cheese, whatever turnovers you want to give out, he's giving those up this year for the Washington football team. And then with Daniel Jones, we can't confidently say that Daniel Jones is going to be a high-end quarterback. Yes, they're talking about surrounding him with weapons, but have we seen Daniel Jones play at a high enough level to know that he can get them to the winner's circle? So now I'm back to Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. I look at this offense last year without La'el Collins and Tyron Smith at the edges. When he was playing quarterback, they were averaging over 30 points a game. Zeke Elliott and Amari Cooper were both balling out of control when he's around and available. We saw that. It's different when he is there. So now all we're saying is they are now using their offense to be their best defense. Dan Quinn comes over. We've seen Dan Quinn orchestrate and lead some great defenses. So even if they're just average on defense, we're talking about 6 games versus the NFC East. Okay, let's chalk up 6 wins. So now we got to get 4 more on the schedule to get to 10. Oh, I'm confident that I go to Vegas with that. I'm good on that. 10 and in.
Bucky, I got to get your advice, because, Bucky, one day I think that this strong grain of hair is going to fade and wither away, Bucky, and I'm going to have to make a decision like you had to make a decision to go bald. But based on this conversation, it's become abundantly clear that you probably held on to your hair a little too long.
Oh, no.
No, because you're an eternal optimist. You're the dude who must clearly think that, the Cowboys, they're just going to get better by happenstance. Even Dak Prescott, the great Dak Prescott, when he's healthy, won 13 games, won 9 games, won 10 games, won 8 games, won 2 games last year and got hurt. So how in God's name are you convinced that they're going to win at least 10? They're not going 6-0 in the NFC East. Not with the Giants this year that are getting better. They're not sweeping Washington, not with that Washington defense.
19-6. Okay, so they win 5. So 5-1 would be about comparable to what the 19-6 record is. So we get 5. So we start out a head start with 5. And then we have 8 home games. Normally, you're going to win 6 out of those 8 home games if you're good, 7 or more if you're great. And so let's just say with Dak Prescott coming back, and look, he's motivated. They get the tackles back because the offense because remember, he played with 2 undrafted free agent tackles out there trying to protect him. He didn't have any bodyguards. Now he get those maulers back. La'el Collins, you have Tyron Smith. Look, you got Zach Martin, who's a Pro Bowl caliber player. The offensive line is better. Even without fixing the defense, this is a team that is much better with Dak Prescott returning. So I am confident that Mike McCarthy has learned from his transgressions of a season ago. He's shaking off the rust. And this right now, I don't like to do this, but I guarantee that they win 10 or more games next year.
Look, America, if I had friends that believed in me as much as Bucky Brooks believed in the Dallas Cowboys, I'd be much further along in life. Coming up, I'm going to tell you why Jalen Hurts has a year to prove himself in Philly, and our guest will tell me exactly why I'm wrong. That's next. Speak for yourself. Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Now, look, y'all don't tell Marcellus this, but I miss him a little bit, primarily because I got nobody to keep me in check on this show. So, I've created a segment called Tell Me Why I'm Wrong. I'm diving into some of the NFL storylines that we haven't talked enough about this week. I got Bucky Brooks with me, but also joined by co-host from The Herd, Joy Taylor. These two have a big task to keep me in check. We'll see if they can do it, though, because I'm going to start with this. 2 of the top quarterbacks in the draft. We already know Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback in the draft, but I am convinced, absolutely convinced, that Zach Wilson from BYU is a better quarterback than Justin Fields from Ohio State. Now, here's why. Zach Wilson, only quarterback in college last year, 40 touchdowns, 5 turnovers or less. What else? Zach Wilson had more passing yards per game than Justin Fields. Zach Wilson had a better completion percentage than Justin Fields. Justin Fields also had a game with 3 turnovers against Indiana and 2 against Northwestern. That's a journalist school. Zach Wilson is abundantly and clearly better than Justin Fields. I could just tell y'all, but I'd rather show you as well. Can we roll the tape? Can we just let them see what Zach Wilson does? Just watch this very quickly. Quick play action. He gets pressure. He steps up. He doesn't try to run. 35 yards in the air, and he threw his receiver open. Now, yes, Justin Fields can do that, but he does that with future first-round picks at wide receiver. So, again, I'm convinced Zach Wilson's better than Justin Fields, but Bucky Brooks, you tell me why I'm wrong.
You're wrong because you're so disrespectful to Justin Fields' game. But let's stay with Zach Wilson first. That's great that he put up those great stats, but did they play a Power 5 team? So imagine if Justin Fields, who led the Ohio State Buckeyes not only to the Big Ten championship, but to the semifinals. Imagine if he played that schedule. And I know you talk about he has the luxury of playing with all those number 1 picks on the perimeter. But just imagine if he only had accountants and lawyers chasing him as opposed to NFL players, what kind of numbers he would put up. Because remember, we're talking about a guy that is bigger, faster, and stronger than Zach Wilson with comparable arm talent. I believe Justin Fields is the deal. And he has always been the deal since he entered the league in high school.
Bucky, I take offense to that. If not for the NFL, I would have been a lawyer, sir, okay? So some lawyers can play some football. But let's talk about the Cleveland Browns, because I'm convinced they're going to win the AFC North. Don't talk to me about the Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger is old, and he can never decide if he wants to play football or not play football. Don't talk to me about the Ravens. They've plateaued. Yes, they got to the playoffs, but we've seen them get to the playoffs before. Lamar Jackson in that offense, Greg Roman's limiting him. He's the offensive coordinator. He can't get right. And Joe Burrow and the Bengals are clearly, at least 2 to 3 years away. You're telling me Kevin Stefanski plus Baker Mayfield, second year, no COVID-ridden offseason, plus Odell Beckham coming back from injury. It's abundantly clear the Browns are going to be the best team in the AFC North. But Joy, tell me, why am I wrong?
Well, I know it's a new segment, but I'm going to mess up the game already. I'm not going to tell you wrong. I actually agree with you. They were 11-5 last season. It'll be the second year in Stefanski's system for Baker. And I love that they were aggressive in the offseason. Who did they bring in? Takkarist McKinley, Troy Hill, Malik Jackson, signed Rashad Higgins, and my favorite, John Johnson III. So they improved where they needed to. They're the 22nd ranked pass defense last year. They addressed it, and they'll continue to get better. And all the things you mentioned about the AFC North are very important to keep in mind as well. So I'm messing the game up, but I agree with you.
You're a resident Pittsburgh Steeler, a fan. So let me ask you this. You got the Steelers second, or do you have the Ravens second? Give me your order in the AFC North.
So I think it'll be Browns, Ravens, Steelers, and then unfortunately it'll be another rough year for the Bengals, but they're still developing. I do love Joe Burrow, but yeah, I don't think this is the Steelers' year.
All right, let's wrap this up with the team I'm a fan of. How about those Philadelphia Eagles? See, because Jalen Hurts, he kicked out my guy Carson Wentz. And so now I'm convinced he only has 1 year to prove himself to the Eagles. Look, Jalen, I'm going to be real with you. Carson Wentz got paid $130 million. He had one bad year, and they were like, we good on you. So Jalen Hurts, you only got 1 year, big dog. You were 1-3 last year in your 4 games as a starter, and you didn't really have great statistics. So in my eyes, 1 year prove it deal, because make no mistake about it, the Eagles have potential to get 3 first-round picks for next year's draft. You better believe they're going to use those if you don't perform up to task. So, Bucky, you tell me, why am I wrong?
I mean, you're not wrong. He has to prove it this year. This is what it is. He's a second-round pick. He doesn't have any assurances that he's going to be the starter beyond next season. So he has to ball out. He balls out of control. He has an opportunity to continue to occupy the QB1 role. It reminds me a lot of what Dak Prescott had to do in Dallas when Tony Romo got hurt and came back. If he balls out the first part of the season, then the Eagles can envision him being the franchise quarterback going forward.
Now, look, Joy, a lot of pressure because Marcellus is going to be very disappointed in you if you do not answer this question properly. So tell me, why am I wrong?
Well, I don't want to disappoint Big Bro Marcellus, but you're not wrong. It is a 1 year situation for Philadelphia. We know Philadelphia has major commitment issues, and that's not changing this offseason. And that's what it should be. He was a second-round pick. You didn't have great statistics, as you mentioned. And they do have those 2, possibly 3 first-round picks coming up next year. This is a very aggressive league. The patience for quarterbacks has dropped tremendously. I believe a little bit more in Jalen Hurts than you do, but this is a 1 year situation for him.
Y'all are too nice, too nice. Somebody cue up the Kumbaya music so we can hold hands and start singing. Coming up, we got to talk about the guy the Eagles moved on from. That's Carson Wentz, because the Colts believe in him. And so do I. I'm going to tell you how much belief I have in a former Eagle. That's next. Speak for yourself. Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Carson Wentz is getting to hit the reset button with the Colts after a rocky finish in Philly. Before the trade, head coach Frank Wright asked Colts assistant and Wentz's former QB coach, my guy, Press Taylor, if he still believes in Wentz. And Taylor said, quote, that was a no-brainer for me. I absolutely believe in Carson Wentz as a player. Joy Taylor and my guy DB are back. But, y'all, I have to remind you all, along with everyone, that Carson Wentz is still a dude. So many people talk about, well, we got to see 2017 Carson Wentz. He hasn't been good in 3 years. 2017, 2018, 2019, Carson Wentz the only quarterback in the NFL with 3 consecutive 20-touchdown seasons and 7 interceptions or less. 2019, just a little over, a calendar year ago. Carson Wentz, 4,000 yards with no 500-yard receivers. We don't need to see 2017 Carson Wentz. We just need to see 2019 Carson Wentz. 2016 Carson Wentz's rookie year. We can toss that to the side. It was a rookie season. Nobody's great as a rookie. 17, 18, and 19, he was a top 10 quarterback. 17, he was a top 5 quarterback. So if I'm doing my math correctly, and I will continue to remind y'all I'm no mathematician, but if I'm doing my math correctly, Carson Wentz has been great much more frequently than he has been bad. So that's how I feel. That's my belief. But, DB, you're the former Colt. You got a lot of vested interest in Carson Wentz's performance. How much belief do you have in Carson Wentz?
All those stats sound great, but
Thank you.
We saw the film. We saw the tape. Like, he stunk it up last year. We knew he would be benched and sitting up out of there. But I think the Colts was a great landing spot for him. If I had to put on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll say about a 7. My faith in Carson Wentz. But I got 10 when it comes to my faith in Chris Ballard and that roster and Frank Wright working with Wentz. And seeing Wentz interview with Pat McAfee on his show, you could tell he's much more comfortable being in the Midwest with his family. It's much more of his type of lifestyle, much different than being in Philly. So I got confidence in Wentz to bounce back and not be the same guy from 2017, but more of a Wentz 2.0. He brought T.Y. back, who brings back a ton of leadership. He brought Marlon Mack back. Got a great old line. Jonathan Taylor had a breakout year as a rookie. So it's a lot of the defense. They were a dominant defense last year. So it's a great roster around Wentz. So for that reason, I definitely believe in him at about a 7 right now.
Here's my thing, though. Here's my thing. We can't sit here and try to extrapolate Carson Wentz's performance isolated from the coach because quarterbacks only perform as good as their coach. So, Joy, keeping in mind what DB said, the coach plus the general manager, how much belief do you have in Carson Wentz this year?
What's the scale are we talking about? Do I believe that Carson Wentz can win a playoff game? Do I believe that Carson Wentz can get the Colts to the AFC Championship game in a few years? Sure. Do I think that Carson Wentz is capable of winning a Super Bowl? I don't know yet. We know that the Colts are a great organization. They're much more stable than Philadelphia. Chris Ballard, Frank Reich, he's going to be in a more comfortable situation. He's not dealing with the Philadelphia media. He's not dealing with the Philadelphia fans. But Carson Wentz fell apart. So he's going to be in a more comfortable situation. He's going to have an offensive line. He's going to have a running game. Everything is set up for him to be successful. I want to see him do it. To me, I feel like Carson Wentz has been anointed. Yes, he is a great quarterback. He did not personally win a Super Bowl. He did not win an MVP. No one has ever gotten more credit for an MVP they did not win than Carson Wentz. I like Carson Wentz. I think he's very talented. And you're right, Emmanuel. He does have very impressive years. He's overcome other injuries, but he fell apart. So now he's got to prove himself to me.
All right, well, let's talk about this then, because so many people doubt that Carson Wentz can get back to being great. Do you think that Carson Wentz can get back to being the 2019 or 18 or 17 Carson Wentz that we saw for 3 consecutive years in Indianapolis, or do you think that's a far-fetched ask?
No, I think he absolutely will. But what is the standard, right? Every different organization has a standard. Is he going to win a Super Bowl? Because I feel like that should be the standard for Carson Wentz in this trade. And for that organization and for that roster, they should be in Super Bowl contention with the hype that Carson Wentz has. You obviously appreciate Carson Wentz a lot. And I do, too. I just think I don't understand what Carson Wentz faced in Philadelphia that every other player in NFL history hasn't faced. What is so unprecedented about it?
I mean, I think that you bring somebody behind a starting quarterback who thinks he's going to be solidified as the guy. I think Carson Wentz a little too emotional. It was a little too rocky. I think that got to him. But, DB, I got to come back to you because Phillip Rivers, he threw 20 interceptions before he got to the Colts. Then Phillip Rivers, a 38 to 39-year-old Phillip Rivers, mind you, goes from throwing 20 interceptions to just 11 interceptions when he gets to the Colts. So clearly, Frank Wright is up to some sort of wizardry with his quarterbacks. Phillip Rivers nearly beat the Buffalo Bills in the playoff game, and I submit that the only reason the Colts lost the playoff game was because of Phillip Rivers. 2.5 minutes left. He couldn't drive down to even get a field goal. Is Carson Wentz not good enough to at least get the Colts that already have a top 10 defense, 3 Pro Bowlers, Pro Bowl center, Pro Bowl left guard, only missing probably a left tackle and a stud receiver? Is Carson Wentz not good enough to get the Colts to an AFC championship at a minimum?
I think he is. I mean, the talent, like Joyce said, like you said, the talent is undeniable. It's going to be, to me, it comes down to confidence with Carson Wentz and mental toughness. And you know how important those things are as a football player. So we got to see if he has that consistently throughout the year and if he can make those big plays in those big moments. Josh Allen played a tremendous game. I remember that game vividly. He had a huge drive, like a 90-something yard, 2-minute drive to end the half. And that's what it's going to come down to. Carson Wentz making huge plays. And I wouldn't say they don't have a standout receiver. We got T.Y. back, who's kind of fell off in some eyes.
T.Y.'s like 31 years old, DB. You talking about your bias now. You talking about your bias, DB.
Hey, trust me, with T.Y., you'll see a different T.Y. this year. You got an arm, or you got a quarterback that can extend plays, that can stretch the field. That's where T.Y. kills you. He's not a possession receiver. He's a guy that's going to take the top off of defense. And I think Carson Wentz, you'll see that element, along with Michael Pittman Jr., who showed some promise
DB,
last year as well.
Let me ask you this then. What piece are the Colts missing from keeping them? What piece do the Colts need to get them to a Super Bowl? I think they need a stud left tackle. I'm not banking on T.Y. Hilton at 31 years of age, who hasn't seen a 1,000-yard season in a few years. I'm not banking on him. I know you have your Colts T-shirt underneath your fresh button down, but I'm not banking on him. So what piece are the Colts missing, and what do they need to get them to a Super Bowl?
At the top of that list, I would say a dynamic pass rusher. And if you look at this draft, it doesn't look very strong in that market. Same with free agency, but they got to find one out of somewhere. But that's what they're missing with this defense. They play a lot of things, keep everything in front of them, rally and tackle, turn the ball over. You got DeForest in the middle, you got Grover in the middle. We just need a stud coming off that edge, and I think that'll be the missing piece.
Yeah, Darius, I agree with you. I think an edge rusher. I do think they could use one more receiver, although I do like T.Y. Hilton a little more than Emmanuel, and I like Michael Pittman a lot. But the biggest thing I agree with you on, Darius, is the confidence. That's what Carson Wentz lost. For whatever reason, we can, lean towards why that happened. It was gone. It was obvious. And now he's set up to have a season where he can get his confidence back. So I don't know if this is the year they go straight to the AFC Championship game or straight to Super Bowl contention, but I do think that they will be better, and he's going to be in a much more comfortable situation.
Well, I have said this before. The basketball in my hands is worth roughly $12. The basketball in the hands of James Harden is worth roughly $206 million. A football in my hands is not worth a lot of money, and Carson Wentz in the hands of Frank Reich is worth a Super Bowl championship. Coming up, James Harden has the Nets near the top of the East. I'll tell you if he's a more qualified candidate than LeBron and the Greek Freak. That's next. Speak for yourself. Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Let's talk NBA MVP if we can. We know Nikola Jokic is a favorite, averaging 27, 11, and 8. But we wanted to focus on three intriguing candidates that are chasing the Joker. That's James Harden. He leads the league in assists, and his Nets are the 2 seed. LeBron, he was the MVP frontrunner before his injury, but he could be back before the playoffs. And the back-to-back MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I always like to say his last name. He's near the top in scoring. Now, remember, y'all, this is not a conversation about who is the favorite. This is a conversation about qualifications. So if I'm going to talk about who's most qualified, whether it's James Harden, Giannis, or LeBron James, to be in that MVP conversation, then I will first start by saying who is disqualified. Whether it's Pee Wee and the YMCA, you know this in sports. No quitting allowed. James Harden, he broke the first rule of sports by quitting on his team, the Houston Rockets. I'm from Texas, so I took that a little more personally than most. But James Harden, to me, is disqualified from even being in the conversation, even being in the race, even being in the chase for MVP. So then I got to talk about my guy, the king, LeBron James. Now, here's the problem. You can't afford to miss games in an already shortened season and still be trying to vie for MVP. Not if the other candidates haven't missed any games, particularly due to injury. So LeBron James, albeit when he is there, he is great. Albeit when he is there, his statistics are out of this world, and he makes everyone around him better. But if it's a conversation of qualifications, LeBron James is also thus disqualified as it pertains to Harden and LeBron and Giannis. So the last man standing is really Giannis. Because the only thing disqualifying Giannis is what? He already won back-to-back MVPs, and there's some sort of unwritten rule that you can't win 3 times in a row because the last person to win 3 times in a row is Larry Bird. No, MVP is focused on one season, the present season. And Giannis, in the present season, he has nothing disqualifying him from being an MVP candidate. So when I look at it, Giannis is the most qualified to being the conversation and being in the race and in being in the chase for MVP. Now, Joy is back with us, but she wasn't enough. So I had to bring in my guy, Slick Rick the Bucher. Slick, so good to see you. Slick,
I actually think Joy is enough, but I'm glad to be here.
You are first, Slick. Who is the most qualified MVP candidate? James Harden, LeBron, or Giannis?
I am not mad at you, Acho, for making a case for Giannis, knowing in particular that it couldn't have been easy for you to disqualify LeBron.
It hurt my heart. Hurt my heart, Slick. It hurt my heart. I stayed up all night.
Yeah,
I stayed up all night. True story.
I understand. I appreciate it. But the truth is that under the current timeline, he's probably going to play or miss 1/3 of the season, and that simply takes him out of the equation. Giannis Antetokounmpo, I'm not holding it against him that he's won the last 2 years. I did not vote for him first on my ballot either of the last 2 years. I actually would consider him for the top of my ballot this year because I think he's, well, regardless of what the numbers might say or the record for the Milwaukee Bucks might say, I believe that he's playing a better all-around game. He has been more aggressive when he needs to be. He's being more assertive, and he's had the intangible of being a positive. I say all that, though, in believing that James Harden is the most qualified because he had the most difficult situation. Giannis is playing with the same team that he's played with for the last couple of years. Harden is in a brand new situation, not only went to a new team, but went to that new team after the season had started with sky-high expectations and a team that was essentially built for two other guys who, one in the case of Kevin Durant, has missed the majority of this season. And yet James Harden, as you said, leading the league in assists, far more diversified offensive game, is making the most of the pieces around him and has the team with the best record among these three. So if we're asking who is the most qualified, simply what James has done on the court and what it has produced for the Brooklyn Nets, I almost said New Jersey Nets, the Brooklyn Nets puts him at the top of that. I put Giannis right there, but I put him a close second.
Slick, I wish you would have said the New Jersey Nets because that's not the only slip-up you had in logic. Slick, you can't say that James Harden went through the toughest situation and the most adversity. A wise man once said, Slick, don't lean up against a wall and then complain about your back being up against a wall. That's what James Harden did, big
Marcellus Wiley?
Yeah, Marcellus. He's a wise man, but I can't give him too many props on this show. Slick, that's what you did. James Harden put himself in a situation. Then he demanded a trade, albeit by action and then by inaction, literally, demanded a trade. And now you're going to give kudos to the person who put himself through the chaos for the chaos?
Okay. So, first of all, he didn't put himself in that position. Tillman Fertitta, the owner of the Rockets, by getting rid of Mike D'Antoni and Daryl Morey as the GM, put James Harden in a situation that he found untenable. But I knew based on our previous conversations that you were going to come up with this argument. And so I thought it might be important to take a closer look at those 8 games that he played with the Houston Rockets at the beginning of the season. And maybe we should compare them to, let's say 2017 and 18 when he was the league MVP. Can we take a look at those numbers? Can we take a look at those overall numbers, the first 8 games of the 2017-18 season and 2020? Well, look at that. How about that? Comparable, one might even argue, better this year. Because you are completely dismissing the fact that he came out of the gate balling and then had an ankle injury, was obviously disappointed that they weren't showing any aggression and getting him elsewhere, and the performance dipped a bit. But comparison to what he did in 2017 and 18, you can't disqualify him because of the numbers in Houston. If you want to make a case for Giannis, if you want to make a case for somebody else as being better overall than James Harden as a MVP candidate, have at it, my friend. But if you are going to try to make a case that James Harden does not deserve it because of what he did not do in Houston in those first 8 games, that simply does not hold up based on the fact that it did not prevent him from winning the MVP previously.
Okay, Slick. There's a quote, comparison is the thief of all joy. I don't think it's what they meant, but your comparison just stole my joy here. Anyway, Joy, I have to bring in you now. Who is the most qualified to be in the MVP conversation between LeBron James, James Harden, and Giannis?
Is this the segment, Tell Me I'm Wrong? Or that was a few segments ago? Okay, well, you're wrong. You're wrong. Now, look, Giannis is having a great season, but he's had a great season the entire time he's been in the league. Like, he's a great player. So, yes, he got the MVP last 2 years. He's not going to win a third. Let's be honest about what the MVP has become in the NBA. It is a narrative award. It's a narrative award. He's not going to win 3 in a row. He's never won an NBA championship. I mean, LeBron James can't even win an MVP in seasons that he's available. So there's no way that that's happening. Giannis is not winning 3 MVPs in a row. Whether he's the most qualified to or not, it just doesn't matter. That's not going to happen. Now, Rick, everything that you said is correct. Everything that you said about James Harden at the beginning of the season is correct. It hurts me also. I do agree with Emmanuel. It hurts me also because I don't like how he left the Rockets, but he's made up for it. He's played 24 games without KD. That has to count for something, the way that Brooklyn is playing. Everyone else, Jokic is 5th in the West. You have Dame, they're 6th. They have the best record with Harden. They've been playing amazing. He's playing a brilliant brand of basketball. He's definitely qualified to be the MVP, and I think he should be the MVP.
Okay, Joe, I got to go back to you here because I don't know if you were to pluck any athlete out of a situation they didn't want to be in and then allow them to hand select their perfect destination, they would probably thrive too. If you want to talk Deshaun Watson pre all the drama going on, if you let him leave Houston and go
James
to a
Harden
perfect
or LeBron
situation.
James?
Hey, Slick, I was about to make a killer point. Okay? So the fact of the matter is, I'm mad at your argument, Slick, but I'm not talking to you right now. I'm mad at Joy's argument because you can't just let superstar players waltz into any other organization and then give them credit when they ball. Duh, they gon' ball. They went to the perfect place to ball. Being a great athlete isn't just what you accomplish, it's also about what you overcome. That's what makes the greats great. So, Joy, how do you not hold what James Harden did in Houston to a higher degree of enmity? Like, how are you not more like, you know what, James Harden? You're DQ'd for that.
Didn't we just have a conversation about Carson Wentz? So I don't want to hear any nice things about Carson Wentz from you, Emmanuel, after this season is over and they do a better job than they did last year, because that is exactly what Carson Wentz did. He threw a fit, and he found his way out of Philadelphia and is now in Indianapolis. So we just discussed with Darius Butler is a better situation. No, I don't hold that against James Harden anymore. I didn't like it either, how he left at the beginning of the season. He wasn't happy. I felt like Houston did, up until that point, everything that they could do to keep him happy. Some things just come to an end, and he has proven himself not only to be a leader, to be in the MVP conversation. He's overcome not playing with Kevin Durant, who's been injured, who is clearly the leader of this team. He's been brilliant since he's gotten there, and they have the best record. He's been everything that they've asked him to do. He's evolved, and I cannot hold Houston against him anymore. You don't want me to hold Philadelphia against Carson Wentz.
Like I said, Joy Taylor is more than enough, Acho, more than enough to carry this. But, Joy, I can tell that we have him on the ropes because he just went to an argument that if I go into the archives, you were just telling me that LeBron James deserves more MVPs than the 4 that he already has. And yet, if there's anybody in the league who has multiple times, not just once, but multiple times said, you know what? Let me create the ideal situation for me to be successful. Let me handpick the organization. Let me handpick my teammates. Let me handpick every single thing in order to be successful. And that's your guy. And I know you're not considering him an MVP candidate in this situation, but you're suggesting that he hasn't received it enough times, and yet his entire career since the first stretch in Cleveland has been built on manufacturing the ideal situations for his success. How can you argue against James Harden when your boy has lived off of that for the last 10 years?
Yes, y'all got me against the rope, but y'all remember Muhammad Ali? The old rope-a-dope?
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
I need to see it.
Now look, Slit. LeBron James never forced his way out of anywhere. He hit free agency, and then he chose, while in free agency, to leave. Carson Wentz was traded. Yes, he wanted out, but they wanted him up out of there. They said, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the heck up out of Philadelphia. But James Harden, Slick, dude was on the court, but he wasn't hooping. James Harden, Joy, he had shoes on, but he wasn't playing. To me, there is a substantive difference between characters like LeBron James, who enters free agency designed by the NBA to allow you to be free and then choose a destination that you wanted to go to.
Hold on. I don't think we've ever done this in the history of the show. Can you bring the full screen back again? Can we have the full screen back one more time?
Full screen, you're one full screen allowed, Slick.
Did those numbers look like he wasn't balling? I've seen guys fall off. We're talking about 25 points a game, 10 and a half assists, shooting 44%. I mean, those aren't, look, it's
We're
not
also talking
off
about
the
8
charts
games.
numbers.
Slick.
And we're talking about exactly 8 games. Look, I get it. Acho, you don't like the fact that he forced his way out of Houston. I get it. But he was put in the position where they changed everything around him, and I didn't like the way he did it either, but ultimately I don't fault him for having done it, and it's not such an egregious move by him that I'm going to say that everything that he does in Brooklyn is discounted because of not even the 8 games. There was a 5-game stretch after the ankle injury where his numbers fell off. 5 games? 5 games is going to define whether you're a candidate for MVP or not? Not in my book.
Y'all give me time to get up out the canvas before the 10 count. Speaking of the NBA, make sure you enter this week's Fox Bet Super 6 NBA contest for a chance to win $25,000. Download the free Fox Bet Super 6 app and pick the outcomes of 6 of tomorrow's NBA games. Your chance to win. Coming up, how short of a leash should Tua be on next season after the Dolphins' big trade? We'll answer that next. Speak for yourself. The Dolphins traded the number 3 pick to the Niners to move back in the draft. Now, the trade appears to show a commitment to Tua as their starting quarterback. Tua described his rookie season as, quote, below average after finishing near the bottom of the league in completion percentage. Now, Joy is back with us. And Joy, I know you're a resident Miami Dolphins fan, so the Dolphins are your team. So I'm not going to tell you anything you don't know, but I'm going to tell y'all something that y'all might necessarily be unfamiliar and unaware of. Tua Tagovailoa, did he have a great rookie season? So many people think he should be benched. But I got to remind you, Tua's completion percentage at 64% is better than Russell Wilson and Matt Ryan's rookie years. Or how about Tua's passer rating at 87? It was better than the rookie years of Andrew Luck, the prodigy Andrew Luck, and Josh Allen. You see, Josh Allen just finished second in the MVP race. How about Tua's touchdown-to-interception ratio? Remember, he threw 11 passing touchdowns and only 5 interceptions. That was better than the rookie years of Kyler Murray and NFL MVP back in 2015, Cam Newton. So I understand we have a propensity to move on to the bright and shiny toys. We have a propensity to shorten the leash of Tua this season and say, hey, if you don't ball, you coming out to the bench. But I don't think that should be the case. So, Joy, I got to ask you, again, you know the Dolphins better than anybody. How short should Tua's leash be this season?
I do, and that's why I'm saying you don't know our suffering. So when you say all those things, it hurts my spirit. You're talking about Josh Allen, who is a certified star in the league. Russell Wilson, who's a Hall of Famer. We know what Andrew Luck was. Who else did you mention on there?
Kyler Murray. Yeah, all those
now,
people.
would you say there was something special about all of those guys? Mm-hmm. Did you see anything special about Tua Tagovailoa?
Coming back from a hip injury.
And on the field, did you see anything special that you would see in any of those guys on the field from Tua last year? Because I did not. I understand he was coming off hip injury, which is why I didn't really love him in the draft, because I don't really like when college quarterbacks have multiple injuries before they hit the league, because they're going to get hit much harder, as you know, in the league. The leash for Tua should be very short. It should be just this year. Now, me personally, I would have moved off him in the draft at the number 3 pick, but they're clearly committing to him, and that's fine. We can see what we have, load up, get Kyle Pitts, shore up the offensive line, and give him a year, another year in the system, a full year, a full commitment, which they didn't do last year.
Well, you got to make this make sense to me. You got to make this make sense to me, because you look at Justin Herbert. We're all raving about Justin Herbert. Oh, my God, 25 or 28 passing touchdowns. He broke a rookie record.
Offensive
rookie of the year. Terrible offensive line, all that jazz. But they went 6-9 under Justin Herbert. We talk about Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is a miracle worker. Did y'all see 400 passing yards in a game for a rookie? My God. But he was 2-7-1. Then I look at Tua. A very humble 11 passing touchdowns to 5-7. A very humble 64% completion percentage. A very humble 87 passer rating. But the Dolphins, your Dolphins, were still 6 And 3, the game of football is about winning and losing. Does that not count for anything? The fact that Tua had a record much better than all the other guys if you talk about win percentage.
He was also benched twice. So they're in the building. They see what he can do. They see him on the field. So clearly they were seeing something in him that they felt the need to take him out. Again, I don't like how the Dolphins handled him this year. You have to see what you have in a rookie quarterback. You have to commit to it. Give him the opportunity to fail. And had they done that, had they given him a full season, and maybe he wasn't fully healthy at the beginning of the season, but give him the opportunity to fail all the way through. Don't bench him. Don't yank him when things get hard. Let him swim. Sharks are born swimming. Let him swim. See what you have in him. So now, going into the draft, if he wasn't spectacular, if he had as much of the season that he was healthy enough to play, you could fully evaluate him. But they're not in that situation now. Fan base is unsure. Media is unsure. The Dolphins are even kind of unsure. Like there was conversations about Deshaun Watson before all the drama. Conversations about what could happen in this year's draft, too. If Justin Fields falls to number 6, are they going to take him? It's a very unsure situation. It's because the Dolphins didn't commit to him last year.
Yeah, I was talking to a Dolphins cornerback this weekend, and he was telling me that Tua actually is talented. The problem is that when Tua was in, they shrunk the playbook, and all they said is, hey, Tua, you're throwing screen passes, you're throwing now passes, you're throwing bubble passes, you're throwing flares. Then when Fitzpatrick went in, everybody knows Fitzpatrick went to Harvard. Phenomenal Wonderlic score. He's a genius. When Fitzpatrick would go in the game, they would completely expand the playbook, and they would allow Fitzpatrick to do everything that he had the ability to do. So I don't know if Tua lacks the ability. I don't know if Tua lacks the talent. I look at it like this, and I don't have as much vested as you because I never lived in Miami. But I look at it like this. If you give Tua the opportunity to actually go out there and ball, you will see him ball. You said sharks are born swimming. Let's hope dolphins are too. Coming up, Bruce Arians got some Super Bowl ink. I'll give you my thoughts on that. Next, Speak for Yourself. Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Now, head coach of the Buccaneers, Bruce Arians, paid off a bet for Tampa Super Bowl win. Yeah, y'all see the ink. He paid it off in a very permanent way. The Bucs coach got a Super Bowl-themed tattoo saying, quote, I followed up on my bet, and I'm really happy with it too, close quote. Now, look, I was once told in regards to tattoos, you don't put a bumper sticker on a Bentley, but I don't subscribe to that theory, and clearly, you shouldn't either, because Bruce Arians has proved himself to be in coaching elite category. My guy, in his first year with Tom Brady, goes out and wins a Super Bowl. And now, I will say this, in regards to the picture, Bruce Arians, I need some more confirmation that it's you, because you could have just, Google image tattoo on a shoulder. But nonetheless, I respect Bruce Arians for paying off a bet. Bruce Arians got tons of criticism at the beginning of the season, and his criticism was deserved. He was too harsh, calling out MVP quarterback Tom Brady. He was far too critical of somebody who had accomplished more than he had. But it is clear that Bruce Arians knows how to be critical, but he knows how to have fun. He knows how to be tough on you, but he knows how to love on you, and it paid off for the Bucs. Watch that live.